We live in an age where you can video call someone on the other side of the planet, yet feel more disconnected from your neighbor next door. We have telescopes that can peer back billions of years to the birth of galaxies, yet many people wake up in the morning unable to see meaning in their own lives. We can edit DNA, but can't seem to edit our collective behavior enough to prevent global crises. That paradox, it should make us pause. How is it that humanity has reached unprecedented heights of technological achievement while still grappling with timeless struggles of purpose, fulfillment, and connection? I don't intend to answer that for you right away. Instead, I want to invite you into a journey, a thought experiment that will take us from the microcosm of our inner lives to the macrocosm of the universe itself. Because in the end, the patterns that govern stars and galaxies often reflect the patterns that govern us. And hidden in those reflections are 7 habits, simple yet profound, that can align us with a more successful, meaningful existence. But before we unpack them, let's set the stage. The cosmic mirror, when you look up at the night sky, you're not just seeing stars, you're seeing time itself, light that left its source millions, even billions of years ago. Every twinkle is an ancient message, traveling across space just to reach your eyes in this exact moment. And yet, how often do we look up? How often do we even notice? That right there is the first quiet tragedy of modern life. We're surrounded by miracles, and we treat them as mundane. We scroll on glowing rectangles while the cosmos itself stages a light show above us. We multitask away the present moment, while the present moment is the only time that truly exists. So let's begin there with the first high vibe habit, mindful awareness. Habit 1. Mindful awareness. Now, don't let the term scare you. I'm not talking about incense and chanting unless that's your thing. I'm talking about something much more scientific, much more practical. The ability to anchor your attention in the here and now. Think of Einstein's theory of relativity. To him, time was not some universal tick-tock happening the same everywhere. Time bends, stretches, dilates. A clock moving close to the speed of light will run slower than one sitting on your desk. In other words, your perception of time is relative to your frame of reference. Mindfulness works the same way. When you're lost in regrets of the past or anxieties about the future, time seems to collapse into a blur. Hours disappear into worry, distraction, autopilot, but when you're present, truly present, time expands. A single conversation, a walk in nature, even the taste of a meal can feel profound. Awareness stretches time. Let me give you a down-to-earth example. Imagine you're at a family dinner. Physically, you're there, but your mind, maybe it's wandering through tomorrow's to-do list or replaying an argument you had last week. You're a time traveler without realizing it, sliding back and forth, never quite inhabiting the now. And when the dinner's over, you realize you weren't really there at all. Now, contrast that with the mindful version of you. You sit down at the same table, but this time you notice the laughter, the smell of food, the subtle expressions on people's faces. You catch the warmth of the moment, and it imprints on your memory like a photograph. Same dinner, different universe. That's mindful awareness. And here's the kicker. Neuroscience backs this up. Brain scans show that mindfulness literally reshapes neural pathways, strengthening areas linked to attention and emotional regulation. It's as if your brain is a galaxy and mindfulness is gravity, pulling scattered stars of thought into coherent constellations. But why does this matter for success? Because success isn't built in the future. It's built in the now. Every idea, every breakthrough, every act of resilience emerges in a moment of presence. If you're not here, you're not building. You're spectating. And if you're still skeptical, let's zoom out. Imagine Earth from space, a pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan so famously said. That dot is the sum total of human existence suspended in a cosmic ocean. From that vantage point, all our worries, our past grudges, our imagined futures, they shrink into perspective. Awareness isn't just about meditation. It's about seeing reality as it is without distortion. It's about noticing that we are stardust becoming aware of itself. So, the first habit is deceptively simple. Be here, fully. Whether it's savoring a cup of coffee, listening without planning your reply, or noticing the way the sunlight hits the floor. Success begins not with doing more, but with noticing more. And that brings us naturally to the second habit, which I'll introduce with a question. If being present allows you to notice reality as it is, what happens when you begin to imagine reality as it could be? So, if mindful awareness is about perceiving reality as it is, positive visualization is about shaping reality as it could be. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about sitting cross-legged and imagining yourself on a yacht while the universe drops a set of keys in your lap. Physics doesn't work that way. Yachts, last I checked, are not quantum particles that blink into existence because you thought about them hard enough. But here's what is true. Human imagination is not just idle daydreaming, it's the prototype workshop of civilization. Every bridge, every skyscraper, every symphony, every spacecraft that left Earth, it all began as a visualization in someone's mind. Think about the Apollo program. In 1961, when President Kennedy declared we'd land a man on the moon within the decade, the technology didn't exist. The rockets, the computers, the heat shields, none of it was ready. But the vision was. And vision is a force multiplier. It rallies ingenuity. It attracts resources. It bends probability in your favor. Let's take a quick detour into neuroscience. When you visualize an action, your brain activates many of the same regions as if you were actually performing it. Athletes use this all the time. Michael Phelps, for example, was known to mentally rehearse every swim in excruciating detail down to the feel of water on his skin before he even stepped onto the platform. So when he finally dove in, it wasn't the first time. He had already lived it 1,000 times in his mind. That's not magic. That's neuroplasticity, your brain wiring itself to match the future you've envisioned. It's physics, biology, and psychology working in concert. Now, let's scale that up. Imagine humanity itself as a species engaged in visualization. When we picture a cleaner, more equitable world, when we imagine solutions to climate change, when we dream of becoming a spacefaring civilization, we are rehearsing. We are wiring ourselves for futures that don't yet exist. Visualization is not just optimism, it's rehearsal for reality. But here's the catch. It must be paired with action. You can't visualize your way into success while lying in bed forever. That's like imagining a rocket launch without building the rocket. The vision is fuel, but you still need an engine. So here's the practical takeaway. Carve out moments each day to see your goals with clarity. Don't just think, I want to succeed. Picture it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What steps did you take to get there? By doing this, you're not just entertaining yourself, you're setting the coordinates in your internal GPS. And your actions, consciously and unconsciously, will begin to align with that destination. Now, before we leap to the next habit, let's consider something cosmic. The universe itself began with a kind of visualization, the laws of physics. In the first microseconds after the Big Bang, the constants of nature were set, almost like the rules of a grand simulation. Gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, these became the scaffolding on which galaxies would eventually form. In a sense, the universe visualized its own possibilities and then unfolded them across billions of years. If the cosmos itself operates this way, potential crystallizing into reality, why wouldn't we? And so, with visualization, we set the stage. But what sustains the stage lights? What keeps the momentum alive when challenges inevitably come? That leads us into the third habit. A practice so simple that it's often overlooked, yet so powerful that it can rewire the trajectory of your life. That habit is gratitude. Gratitude, a word that often sounds too soft, too sentimental to belong in a serious conversation about success. But let me suggest otherwise. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a cognitive technology, a survival tool refined over millions of years of human evolution. Consider entropy, the universal law that everything tends toward disorder. Stars burn out, mountains erode, civilizations collapse. Against this backdrop of inevitable decay, life is an act of defiance. Every moment of stability, your lungs drawing in oxygen, your neurons firing in coherent patterns, is a statistical miracle. Gratitude, then, is the recognition of order amid chaos. Think about it scientifically. Our bodies are 37 trillion cells working in unison, a choreography of proteins and ions, all powered by mitochondria, the little energy factories in each cell. Do you know what those mitochondria are? Descendants of ancient bacteria that merged with primitive cells 2 billion years ago. Without that symbiotic accident, you wouldn't exist. So the simple act of waking up in the morning is a triumph of cosmic improbability. Gratitude is not naive, it's accurate. Now let's zoom out. Imagine Earth from the perspective of Voyager 1, the spacecraft now drifting more than 14 billion miles away. When it turned its camera back toward Earth in 1990, it captured our planet as a pale blue dot, a fraction of a pixel suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan reflected on this image, reminding us that every human drama, every king and pauper, every war and romance, all of it occurred on that mote of dust. From that vantage point, entitlement feels absurd. Gratitude becomes the only rational response. But here's where the science of gratitude gets practical. Psychologists have found that people who keep gratitude journals, literally writing down 3 things they're thankful for each day, report higher levels of well-being, lower stress, and greater resilience. Why? Because gratitude shifts your brain's filter. The reticular activating system, a network in your brainstem, determines what information gets your attention. When you prime it with gratitude, you literally start noticing more positives in your environment. It's like turning up the contrast on the cosmic picture. Now, why does this matter for success? Because success is not only about achieving goals, it's about sustaining the energy to pursue them. Gratitude is fuel efficiency for the soul. Without it, victories feel hollow and setbacks feel unbearable. With it, you're able to metabolize even failure into lessons. Think of gratitude like dark matter. It's invisible, intangible, yet it holds galaxies together. Similarly, gratitude holds your mental universe in coherence. Without it, you scatter. With it, you orbit something meaningful. So the third high vibe habit is simple. Practice gratitude daily, and not just for the big wins. Be grateful for the coffee that woke you up, the stranger who held the door, the fact that gravity's still working so your feet don't float off the floor. Because when you recognize abundance in the ordinary, you transform scarcity into sufficiency. And once you're attuned to that frequency, something fascinating happens. You become more receptive to the subtle energies around you, the fourth habit in our cosmic symphony, the practice of aligning your inner and outer energy. Now, when people hear the word energy in the context of personal growth, the skeptics among us may roll their eyes. And I understand why. The word is often tossed around casually, detached from physics, as if it's some vague mystical aura. But energy, in its most fundamental sense, is not mystical at all. It's measurable. It's the capacity to do work. Without it, nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing exists. Here's a cosmic reminder. The energy in your body right now, the calories in your cells, the spark in your neurons originated in stars. Every atom heavier than helium was forged in the nuclear furnaces of ancient suns. So the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your DNA, these are star remnants recycled through billions of years. To say that you are made of energy is not metaphorical, it's literal. You are stardust animated by ancient fire. Now, how does this translate to a habit? Let's get practical. Energy alignment is about cultivating practices that harmonize the body's natural rhythms with the demands of your daily life. It's understanding that you are not just a mind floating above a body, you are a symphony of biological systems, each one humming with electrical and chemical signals. Take your heart, for example. Every beat sends an electromagnetic wave, measurable several feet beyond your body. Your brain operates through oscillating patterns of electrical activity, alpha, beta, theta waves. When you're stressed, those rhythms become chaotic. When you're calm and focused, they fall into coherence. Energy alignment, then, is about fostering coherence between mind, body, and environment. This is where practices like meditation, breathwork, yoga, tai chi, even simple movement and posture come into play. They're not just cultural rituals. They're tools to regulate your nervous system, optimize your hormonal balance, and fine-tune your body's natural resonance. You don't have to call it chakra balancing if that doesn't sit well with you. Call it bioelectric optimization. Call it physiological harmony. And the science is catching up. Studies in psychophysiology show that coherent breathing patterns, say 5 to 6 breaths per minute, can synchronize your heart rate variability with your brain rhythms, leading to greater emotional regulation and resilience. It's as if the various instruments of your inner orchestra tune themselves into harmony rather than clashing in dissonance. Why does this matter for success? Because misaligned energy is wasted energy. Think of it like a rocket ship. If the thrusters are firing in different directions, the ship spins in circles. But when all thrusters align, even a small burst of fuel propels it forward. Your body and mind are no different. When you align your energy through intentional practices, you conserve effort, increase focus, and amplify impact. Let's extend this metaphor to society. Right now, humanity is like an orchestra warming up. Everyone's playing their own tune, loudly, independently. What would happen if we aligned? If our collective energy, social, political, technological, were focused coherently on solving global challenges? It's not a fantasy. We've done it before. The Apollo program, the eradication of smallpox, the creation of the internet, all examples of humanity aligning its collective energy. So the fourth habit is this: develop practices that keep your inner systems in harmony. Whether that's a morning meditation, a daily walk, a breathing exercise before a big meeting, it doesn't matter the form. What matters is the alignment, because energy misdirected is chaos. Energy aligned is momentum, and momentum is essential because the universe is always moving. Your cells are regenerating, stars are exploding, galaxies are colliding. To resist alignment is to resist the natural order of existence itself. Which brings us to the next habit, a natural extension of energy alignment. If energy is the music of the body, then the body itself is the instrument. And like any instrument, it must be tuned and cared for. That's where habit 5 comes in. Cultivating a healthy lifestyle. Let's talk about the vessel that carries you through the universe, your body. Now, in popular culture, success often gets painted as this abstract mental achievement, grit, strategy, innovation. And yes, the mind is extraordinary. But here's the paradox. The mind doesn't float in a vacuum. It's housed in a body, a biological spacecraft that has been evolving for 3.5 billion years. Ignore that vessel, and no matter how brilliant your ideas are, they'll sputter before takeoff. Think of it this way. If you owned $1 billion satellite, would you fuel it with sludge and leave it unmaintained? Of course not. Yet many of us treat our bodies far more complex than any satellite as afterthoughts. We run on junk food, deprive ourselves of sleep, and then wonder why we can't focus, why we're fatigued, why success feels perpetually out of reach. Here's the truth. Biology is not optional. Your brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy at rest. That means every donut, every skipped workout, every all-nighter isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a neurological tax. And compounded over years, that tax bankrupts potential. But when you fuel your body well, exercise regularly, and prioritize rest, you unlock performance that feels almost cosmic. Consider exercise. It doesn't just sculpt muscles. It floods your brain with endorphins, sharpens memory through increased hippocampal growth, and boosts neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. You literally build a smarter brain by moving your body. And nutrition? Let's return to the stars. Remember, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, the calcium in your bones, all of it comes from supernova explosions billions of years ago. Eating whole, nutrient-dense food isn't just about health. It's about honoring the cosmic lineage of the atoms that compose you. Each bite is a reunion with your stellar ancestry. Sleep, too, is not weakness. It's astrophysics in action. During deep sleep, your brain engages in glymphatic clearance, flushing out metabolic waste. It's like tidying the cosmos of your mind. Skip sleep, and you don't just feel groggy. You accumulate neurological debris that impairs cognition, mood, and decision-making. If mindful awareness expands time, sleep resets it. So, the fifth habit is not glamorous, but it's foundational. Live in a way that your body thanks you for. Move it, fuel it, rest it, hydrate it, because the body is the laboratory in which all other experiments, gratitude, visualization, awareness, take place. And once your vessel is tuned, something profound becomes possible. You begin to sense in quiet moments that you are not just an isolated organism, but a node in a vast cosmic web. That leads us into the sixth habit, cultivating a spiritual connection. Let me be clear right at the start. When I say spiritual connection, I don't mean a specific religion, dogma, or ritual. I mean the felt recognition that you are part of something larger than yourself, a realization so profound, it reorders your priorities and reframes your life. Science, in fact, delivers this realization constantly if we're willing to look. Take the pale blue dot. In 1990, Voyager 1, already billions of miles from Earth, turned its camera back home. What it saw was not a mighty planet, not a theater of great civilizations, but a speck, a pixel, suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan famously reflected, "That's here, that's home, that's us." All our joys and sorrows, our empires and revolutions, every king and peasant, every hero and coward lived out their lives on that mote of dust. That perspective is spiritual. It humbles us, but it also connects us. Suddenly, national borders, ideologies, and egos look small against the canvas of the cosmos. Or consider biology. Every living thing on Earth, oak trees, jellyfish, hummingbirds, humans, shares a common genetic code. We are all descendants of a single ancestral cell, some 4 billion years ago. Your DNA, compared to a chimpanzee's, is 98.8% identical. Compared to a banana, 60% identical. Spiritual connection is not believing we're separate. It's acknowledging the molecular truth that we are kin. Even at the atomic level, connection is unavoidable. The oxygen you exhale right now could, in a year, be inhaled by someone across the planet. In that sense, breath is not personal, it's planetary. You are never truly isolated. You are part of a planetary respiration cycle. So, what does this habit look like in practice? It's about cultivating awareness of those connections. For some, it's prayer. For others, meditation, nature walks, stargazing. The form doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition you are not the center of the universe, but you are of the universe. And here's the kicker. People who foster spiritual connection, religious or not, often report higher resilience, stronger social bonds, and a deeper sense of meaning. When challenges arise, they don't just ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What does this mean? How does this fit into a larger story?" That shift in framing transforms despair into growth. Now, tie this back to success. Success without meaning is just accumulation. More money, more titles, more recognition, but to what end? Spiritual connection asks the harder question, how does my success serve not just me, but the greater whole? When your efforts align with something larger than yourself, you tap into inexhaustible motivation. It's no longer just about winning, it's about contributing to the cosmic symphony. And this sets the stage for the final habit. If spirituality provides the compass, then belief is the engine. And belief, when directed and empowered, becomes the ultimate creative force in shaping reality. That's where we arrive at the seventh habit, empowering beliefs and affirmations. Here's a truth about the universe. Matter bends to the laws of physics, but human destiny bends to the laws of belief. Belief is not a side effect of consciousness, it is one of its engines. Our ancestors painted bison on cave walls, not just to record them, but because they believed it would give them power in the hunt. Centuries later, sailors crossed uncharted oceans because they believed new lands lay beyond the horizon. Civil rights movements ignited because people believed a different world was possible. Now, let's ground this in science. Neuroscience has shown us the power of the placebo effect. Give someone a sugar pill, but tell them it's medicine, and their body sometimes heals as though it were. That's not deception, it's belief rewriting biology. Expectation changes outcome. In physics, we call this an observer effect. The act of measurement influences the system being measured. In psychology, belief does the same. It influences the system we call you. But beliefs are double-edged. Just as empowering beliefs can accelerate growth, limiting beliefs can anchor potential. If you believe I'm not good at math, you approach problems half-defeated. If you believe people like me don't succeed, you filter opportunities through a lens of impossibility. These aren't truths, they're self-fulfilling prophecies. So the seventh habit is about curating your inner narrative. Affirmations, when done sincerely, are not magic spells. They are cognitive reprogramming. You are teaching your brain to expect possibility instead of impossibility, to recognize doors instead of walls. Think of your beliefs as the cosmic constants of your personal universe. Just as the strength of gravity or the speed of light defines what's possible in our cosmos, your beliefs define what's possible in yours. Adjust them, and the physics of your life changes. But let's take this cosmic for a moment. Imagine if Einstein, as a young patent clerk in Bern, had told himself, "I'm no one special. I'll never contribute anything meaningful." The theory of relativity might still be waiting to be discovered. Belief didn't write the equations, but it gave him permission to try. So, how do we practice this habit? Start by noticing the default scripts running in your mind. When you hit resistance, what's the belief underneath? Then ask, is that belief aligned with reality or with fear? Replace the limiting script with one that empowers action. Over time, repetition solidifies the new pattern, like carving new neural pathways in the brain. And when you align this with the previous 6 habits, awareness, visualization, gratitude, energy alignment, health, spirituality, belief, becomes the multiplier. It's the software that directs all the hardware. Now, we've traveled through 7 habits, 7 cosmic tools to navigate not just success, but significance. But no great lecture ends with a checklist. It ends with perspective, with a reminder of why it all matters in the first place. So let's zoom out one final time for the crescendo. The cosmic crescendo, a call to responsibility. We are, each of us, stardust with awareness. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that lived and died long before the Earth was born. In that sense, you are the universe learning about itself. But awareness brings responsibility. The dinosaurs never held climate summits. They never debated ethics or dreamed of futures. They simply existed until they didn't. We, however, have consciousness. We can imagine tomorrow, and in imagining it, we can shape it. And yet, look around. We live in an age where more people have access to smartphones than clean water, where some build rockets to Mars while others struggle for food on Earth, where we can map the genome but still stumble over prejudice and division. That is the paradox of our time. Extraordinary power, unevenly applied. The habits we've explored are not just for personal success. They are for planetary survival. A mindful species doesn't destroy its only home. A grateful species doesn't hoard resources. A spiritually connected species doesn't divide itself into enemies. An empowered species doesn't say, that's impossible. So here's the challenge. Success is not enough if it's only yours. The cosmos didn't spend 13.8 billion years evolving hydrogen into humans so we could scroll endlessly, chase shallow trophies, and burn the planet down. The cosmos evolved us to be custodians of awareness, architects of possibility. The question is, will we answer that call? If you practice these 7 habits only for yourself, you'll live a better life, no doubt. But if you practice them collectively, if we embody them as a civilization, then maybe, just maybe, we will earn the right to call ourselves intelligent life. And that, my friends, is success on a cosmic scale. So, as you leave here, remember, you are not small. You are vast. You are the universe, condensed into consciousness, capable of gratitude, vision, belief, connection, vitality, alignment, and awareness. Use those capacities not just to climb ladders, but to build bridges. Not just to win, but to uplift. Not just to succeed, but to evolve. Because someday, perhaps millions of years from now, some distant civilization may look up at their night sky and see a faint glimmer from this corner of the Milky Way. And if they could know our story, let it be said that on this tiny pale blue dot, a species once lived that awakened, that aligned, that believed, and in doing so, left the universe better than they found it. That's the real secret. That's the real habit. That's the real success. Now, let's pause and reflect. We've traveled across 7 habits, each one a star in a constellation that maps the way to success. Not just the kind of success you can measure with trophies or bank balances, but the kind that aligns you with the very laws of the universe. But here's the paradox we cannot escape. You can master every one of these habits, build wealth, achieve influence, even leave your name in the history books, and yet, if it serves only you, it will vanish as quickly as a shooting star. Think about it. The pharaohs built pyramids to immortalize themselves. Centuries later, most people can't even name them. Empires rise and fall. Fortunes are gained and lost. But what endures, what always endures, are the contributions that ripple beyond the self. Science that lifts humanity, art that expands imagination, acts of compassion that echo through generations. So here's the real question. Will your success end with you, or will it reverberate like starlight long after its source is gone? Let's zoom way out. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. The Earth is 4.5 billion. Humanity, just 300,000 years. If cosmic history were a single calendar year, we arrived in the last 10 minutes of December 31st. Every achievement of civilization, agriculture, the wheel, democracy, the internet has unfolded in the blink of a cosmic eye. Now ask yourself, what will we do with our next blink? Because here's the truth. Success is not a destination, it's a trajectory. And our trajectory right now as a species is precarious. Climate change, inequality, nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, all tools of immense potential, but also immense peril. The same brilliance that lets us split the atom also gives us the power to destroy ourselves. And that's why these 7 habits are not just self-help. They are survival codes. A mindful species won't consume itself. A grateful species won't waste its blessings. A spiritually connected species won't divide itself into fragments. An empowered species won't resign itself to impossible. So when you practice these habits, remember, you are not just shaping your life. You are rehearsing, on a small scale, the very patterns humanity must adopt to thrive on a large scale. Let me give you a thought experiment. Imagine some advanced civilization, 1 million years older than us, pointing a telescope at Earth. They see our atmosphere choked with carbon, our news feeds clogged with conflict, our oceans rising. What story do they tell themselves? There was a species that almost made it, but got lost in its own noise? Or there was a species that stumbled, but chose to awaken? Which story we write is not preordained. It depends on the choices we make now, on whether we live by default or live by design. And design begins with habits. Habits are not small. They are the invisible architecture of destiny. They are the gears by which galaxies of potential become galaxies of reality. So don't underestimate mindful awareness, or gratitude, or belief. They seem simple, too simple for the complexity of modern life. But remember, gravity itself is simple. An apple falls, a planet orbits. Yet out of that simplicity comes the structure of the cosmos. So here's my invitation. Tonight, when you look up at the night sky, don't just see stars, see a mirror. Because those stars are your ancestors. Their death created your life. Their light is your inheritance. And when you wake tomorrow, try one thing. Just one. Be fully present in a moment of your day. Or visualize one clear outcome. Or write down one thing you're grateful for. Or take a walk to align your energy. Or make a healthier choice. Or connect with something larger. Or replace one limiting belief with an empowering one. Because the universe doesn't demand you do everything at once. It just nudges you, moment by moment, choice by choice, toward coherence. And when billions of people nudge in the right direction, the trajectory of a species shifts. That's how stars form from scattered particles collapsing into unity. That's how civilizations rise from scattered individuals aligning around shared vision. That's how you too will succeed from scattered moments aligning into a life of meaning. Someday, the Earth will be gone. Someday, our sun will exhaust its fuel, swell into a red giant, and swallow the inner planets. Someday, the universe itself may collapse or drift into heat death, but today you are alive on this rare oasis of a planet with the power to think, to feel, to choose. That makes you not just a passenger in the cosmos, but a participant. Not just stardust, but stardust that dreams. So dream well, live well, align with the 7 habits, not as a checklist, but as a way of harmonizing your life with the deeper currents of the universe. Because success is not about escaping the gravity of this world, it's about generating the light that others can navigate by. And if enough of us do that, if enough of us awaken, align, and believe, then perhaps when future civilizations look back at this pale blue dot, they won't just see a species that existed, they'll see a species that mattered. I want to leave you with one final paradox. The universe is unimaginably vast, 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Against that backdrop, you might feel insignificant, like a flicker in an endless dark. And yet, consider this. The universe is 13.8 billion years old, but only in the last few millennia did matter arrange itself into brains capable of asking, what is my place in all this? You are that matter. You are the cosmos, aware of itself. That doesn't make you insignificant. It makes you rare. It makes you precious. When you live mindfully, visualize boldly, practice gratitude, align your energy, care for your health, nurture your spirit, and choose empowering beliefs, you're not just improving your life. You are fine-tuning the most complex instrument the universe has ever built, human consciousness. And consciousness is contagious. Your presence alters the field around you. Your choices ripple outward in ways you may never see, but that matter profoundly. Think of it like starlight. The photons leaving your sun today will travel for billions of years, long after the Earth is gone. Likewise, the kindness you show, the wisdom you share, the responsibility you embody it will echo far beyond your lifetime. So the real measure of success is not how brightly you burn, but how far your light travels. So here's my invitation to you, not as an astronomer, not as a philosopher, but as a fellow traveler on this pale blue dot. Choose one habit, just one, practice it today, then another tomorrow. Over time, they will align like planets in orbit, pulling you toward a life of coherence, contribution, and meaning. And together, if enough of us make those choices, we will write a new chapter for humanity. One where success is not defined by extraction, but by expansion of possibility. Not by division, but by connection. Not by what we take, but by what we give back to the cosmos that birthed us. That's the ultimate high vibe habit. To live not as though you're trapped in the matrix of smallness and scarcity, but as though you are part of the vast, unfolding story of the universe. Because you are, and if that isn't success, if that isn't the very definition of a life well lived, I don't know what island. Think about this. Every human being who has ever lived, every artist, every scientist, every revolutionary, every child who ever laughed has been cradled by the thin atmosphere of Earth. We are passengers on the same ship, orbiting an ordinary star in an ordinary arm of the Milky Way, and yet there is nothing ordinary about us. We've learned to harness fire, split atoms, decode the genome, map the observable universe, but the real measure of our intelligence will not be what we can discover, but what we can preserve. Because what good is reaching Mars if we can't care for Earth? What good is wealth if it costs us wisdom? What good is success if it disconnects us from one another? The 7 habits we've explored are not just personal upgrades. They're prototypes for how humanity itself must grow. Mindful awareness so we don't sleepwalk into our own extinction. Positive visualization so we can imagine futures worth building. Gratitude so we can see abundance instead of scarcity. Energy alignment so our efforts stop colliding and start compounding. Healthy living so we have the stamina to carry civilization forward. Spiritual connection so we remember we are one species on one planet. Empowering beliefs so we never again say impossible to the challenges ahead. This is not just self-help, this is species help. Now, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know this. When future civilizations, whether human or alien, study the thin layer of fossils and artifacts that mark our age, I hope they don't just see evidence of consumption and conflict. I hope they see a turning point. A moment when a young species, still fumbling, still fragile, chose to align itself with the deeper harmonies of the cosmos. That's the power of habits. They may look small, but they're really gravitational. They bend the trajectory of entire lives and entire civilizations. So I'll leave you with this. Success is not escaping Earth, it's elevating Earth. Success is not about climbing to the top, it's about widening the foundation. Success is not what you take from the universe, but what you give back to it. You are stardust with awareness. Live like it matters, because it does. Here's the final paradox I'll leave you with. You are small, but you are not insignificant. Yes, the universe is vast. The Andromeda Galaxy alone has 1 trillion stars. Our Milky Way is just one of 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. And each galaxy is drifting farther apart as space-time itself stretches. On those scales, a human life barely registers a blink of a blink. And yet, what other force in the cosmos can look up, contemplate its own existence, write symphonies, or ask whether it is living well? Stars shine, but they don't wonder why. Black holes warp space, but they don't tell stories. Supernovae forge elements, but they don't give them meaning. You do. So yes, you are small, but you are the only kind of small that knows how to dream big. And the habits we've explored, they're not just self-improvement hacks. They are the scaffolding for a species learning how to live consciously in a universe that otherwise doesn't care. That's the cosmic truth. The universe is indifferent. Suns will rise, galaxies will collide, and atoms will dance according to the laws of physics, whether you're paying attention or not. But while the universe may be indifferent, you don't have to be. You can choose to be mindful. You can choose to be grateful. You can choose to align your energy, care for your body, connect with something larger, and believe in possibilities that don't yet exist. And when enough of us choose that is when the arc of civilization bends. So the next time you feel insignificant, remember, insignificance is doing nothing with the gift of awareness. Significance is living in a way that ripples beyond your own orbit. And if you ever forget why it matters, step outside one night, look up at the sky, and realize those stars are your ancestors. Those atoms are your inheritance. And this moment, this one is your opportunity. Success is not about escaping gravity. It's about generating light. So go out there, shine. We began with a paradox. How can a species capable of decoding the genome, of building telescopes that see galaxies being born, of splitting atoms and harnessing fire, still feel so lost, so anxious, so disconnected? The answer is not that we are broken, it's that we are unfinished. Evolution gave us a brain powerful enough to imagine the future, but not always wise enough to choose it well. That's where these habits come in. They're not luxuries, they're not side quests, they're survival tools. They are the training wheels for a young species trying to ride the bicycle of consciousness without falling. Mindfulness keeps us steady. Visualization shows us where we're headed. Gratitude keeps us fueled. Energy alignment keeps us balanced. Healthy living keeps the vessel strong. Spiritual connection keeps us humble. And belief keeps us moving forward, even when the road disappears. 7 habits, 7 orbits, 7 forces that, when combined, keep the fragile planet of you stable in the vast gravity of existence. But here's the catch. Habits only matter if you practice them. The cosmos doesn't reward intention. It rewards action. Stars don't shine because they thought about it. They shine because nuclear fusion happens. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't just think about success. Live it. Inhale it. Practice it. One choice at a time. Because success is not a finish line. It's a trajectory. And your trajectory doesn't just shape your life, it nudges the orbit of everyone around you. And together, if enough of us shift, if enough of us awaken, align, and act, humanity itself might find its true orbit. One not of self-destruction, but of self-discovery. So, The final challenge is this: live as if your life matters to the cosmos. Because it does. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, conscious of itself. You are not insignificant dust. You are stardust, arranged into awareness. You are not here by accident. You are here by improbability, so staggering it might as well be destiny. And with that destiny comes responsibility. So go be mindful, be grateful, align your energy, care for your vessel, connect to something greater, believe in what's possible. Do it for yourself, yes, but also do it for us. Do it for Earth. Do it for the universe that gave you life. And when you do, when you live that way, when you shine that way, success is not something you chase, it is something you become. So let's return to where we began. We live in a world where we can FaceTime across continents, but forget to talk to the neighbor next door. Where we can split atoms, but struggle to split the dinner bill with kindness. Where we can send probes to Mars, but cannot always find common ground on Earth. That was the paradox I offered at the start. And now, after exploring these 7 habits, perhaps you see why. Technology advances quickly, but wisdom takes practice. And wisdom is nothing more than the accumulation of habits lived well. Think of it this way. The cosmos doesn't operate in leaps. Stars don't suddenly appear. They accrete atom by atom, gravity pulling hydrogen into fusion. Galaxies don't assemble in a moment. They spin together over billions of years. Progress is habit. Habit is progress. So don't be discouraged if you can't master all 7 habits at once. That's not how the universe works. Begin with 1. Practice it until it fuses into your being. Then another. Over time, like stars forming constellations, your habits will align into a pattern of light. And that light, your light, will shine far beyond what you can see. Because here's the real cosmic secret. Success isn't about outshining others. It's about contributing your brightness to the collective glow. It's about adding your spark to the Milky Way of humanity. And if enough of us shine together, then when some distant intelligence looks across the cosmos and notices this pale blue dot, maybe, just maybe, they'll see not just a planet, but a beacon. A civilization that learned at last how to live in harmony with itself and with the universe that gave it life. So, my friends, as you leave here, remember, you are small, yes, but never insignificant. You are vast, because within you is the entire history of the cosmos. You are rare, because in all the observable universe, there is only one you. Live like that matters, because it does. And when you do, when you practice these habits not just for yourself, but for all of us, you'll discover the greatest paradox of all. Success is not something you reach, it is something you radiate. And so, when you look up at the night sky, remember this. Those stars are not just lights scattered in the dark. They are your ancestors. Their explosions forge the atoms in your body. You don't just live in the universe lives in you. That makes you rare. That makes you precious. And it gives you a responsibility. Because if stardust can learn to think, if atoms can organize into a mind capable of love, creativity, and vision, then surely we can learn to live with wisdom on this tiny blue planet. So the real measure of success is not how high you climb, but how brightly you shine for others. Not how much you take from the universe, but how much light you add back to it. And if we each do that in our habits, in our choices, in our lives, then together we become not just a civilization that exists, but a civilization that matters. After all, you are the universe, aware of itself. Live like it.